Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're all good and well. So it's time for another episode in the Shoegaze files. It's been a little while since the last one, and I'm joined again by Sam Mortley from the Shoegaze 93 YouTube channel, and also he's in the band Breather as the guitarist. And we're going to be counting down our top 5 ride songs, a classic Shoegaze band formed way back in the late 80s. And he's got his Going Blank Again t-shirt. So
Yeah,
I don't own any ride t-shirts, and actually I need to make more of an effort with band t-shirts on the channel, I think. Anyway, how are you doing, Sam?
yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the channel, Tom.
You're welcome. You're welcome. No, it was good fun last time when we spoke about our top, or I can't remember now, our favorite modern shoegaze albums,
Yeah,
and
that was right. It was
lots
the
there.
2010s, best of the
Mm.
2010s.
Yeah, best of the 2010s, and some great picks there. And yeah, so we're going back a ways to Ride, I guess, but they have released a couple of albums recently, haven't they? We've had Going Blank, not Going Blank Again. This Is Not a Safe Place. Get it right. This
Yeah,
Is
and
Not a Safe Place, and Weather
Weather
Diaries.
Diaries 2017, and there was an
EP.
EP in
Yeah,
between called Tomorrow's Shore.
yeah. And it's actually surprising because I'm really enjoying their new stuff, but I don't want to give away too much about my list. So I guess we may as well, if you're ready to start, we may as well start. So do you want to start with your number 5, if you're ready?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So for number 5, I've got written down um, a song called Nowhere. Which is a bit of a out of left field choice, I guess, because it's not exactly like a song, as in, it's not many lyrics or verses in it. It's more for the sonics of it and the production. This big droney track, which you can find on the Fall EP, and it's also on the sort of later editions of Nowhere. Apparently, it wasn't in the when it came out in
The
1990.
original.
It wasn't. It was
Yeah.
only 8 tracks to begin with, but it's part of the remasters that came in the 2000s.
Yeah. I think
And
some
this
of
is
those
the
extra tracks are
2000
really good. Yeah.
this is the 2015 remaster with
Remastered.
there's a DVD, a live show from Town and Country Club in London. So that's a really good kind of double, and it's got like a book inside. It's like a double kind of bundle where you get the CD, DVD, and then there's like
Oh, brilliant.
stories and interviews with band members in there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so yeah, some
You
nice
say
pictures.
you'd met them, right, as well, just going off a little bit on a tangent, but you've met the band, haven't you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the signatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met them just by hanging around like outside of the venue after shows.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm stalking these artists or anything. It's just a case of sort of hanging around and
Yeah.
just sort of chancing it.
Well, I've done that before, actually. Not
And they're all
stalked
quite
the
kind of
band.
approachable, I would say, like
Yeah.
all the bands I've met.
Yeah.
Slow Dive as well, they were super approachable. Just
Awesome.
Neil just chills out for like a cigarette after the gig, and it's good. They're easy to talk to.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, anyway, back to the track Nowhere.
Yep.
So it's the final track of the 4-track EP Fall, which I think came out a month before Nowhere came out. It was like the final EP before their first album, because they had a run of 3 EPs, and then they did the first album, and then they did Today Forever, and then Going Blank Again. But what I like about Nowhere is that the live show they do, if you've ever seen the Brixton Academy 1992 DVD, which is it's quite a highly viewed thing on YouTube, because I think they brought it out on VHS in the 90s, and now they've done like a DVD like reissue of it for the 2012 Going Blank Again edition. There's like they did it on DVD, and when they play Nowhere live, it's like they jump from like something sweet to like Vapor Trail, which is all like very optimistic and beautiful, and then they go into this drone fest called Nowhere, and they do it for about 10 minutes, and they got this. It's like somebody summed it up well in the Shoegaze group, where they said it was like Ride's version of You Made Me Realize by MBV, where they go into this real like heavy part, like halfway through the song you get to this part where the music sort of drops, and then woof, they're all on the wah pedal, and they're putting all of the effects are going crazy. you know, and this like it's all working up towards that moment, you know. You're just waiting for everything to burst open and get really heavy, and Loz is really giving it hell on the drums. And yeah, I think it's a great display of their effects, you know, because I don't think Ride really, they don't really overdo it too much, do they? They're not one of the noisier bands. They're more based on melody, so it's nice to see them really go for something real noisy, you know, just flat out noise. And
That's a good
I
point,
like the
actually.
darkness of
Yeah.
it as well. It's got a
Mm.
dark tone. It's like oh, what was it? Here we are, nowhere. Oh yeah, all that's left is you and me. And here we are, nowhere. And then it bursts out, doesn't it, into distortion. And it's really dark. You know, I think it's a great example of how they're using like guitar as impressionism of a dark atmosphere. You know, it's like going through Jurassic Park or going through some kind of horror movie when you're listening to that song, because of all the feedback schools and stuff they got going on. Yeah, so that's what I've got to say about it.
Yeah, yeah, good first pick. Good first pick. Yeah, number five. All right. Okay, my number five. Yeah, I've gone for a song actually from This Is Not a Safe Place. I've gone for the closing track, In This Room.
Yeah, yeah, I
Actually,
approve of that.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's cool. Yeah, so it's quite a long song, isn't it? So 3 minutes of it, you sort of have the lyrical part, and then the long, quite a long outro. But I do like the long outro. I think it does enough. It kind of sort of drifts along, doesn't it? It builds and builds. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I love the chorus particularly though. I think that sort of the two choruses. Um, yeah, and I sort of yeah, they do that thing where the title of the album is in the song in the chorus in this
Oh yeah,
one,
yeah.
but
In
not the name of the
this
song.
room,
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand. Yeah, yeah, that's really good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because of the delay they use, and it's yeah, maybe a bit of Pink Floyd influence in that song.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh.
interesting that Pink massive Pink Floyd fan here, so maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
So
really approve of that pick. Yeah, I think there's a lot of great gems on the last two albums for sure.
yeah,
But actually, my top five consists of the older stuff because it's so damn good. The
it's true.
first
Yeah,
two albums, like from 1990 to 92, that's a central ride right there.
yeah, yeah. Get to some of those as well later on. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Number four.
So yeah, I'll go for my number four. Yeah. So I've got written down. This one's from the Today Forever EP, and this one is Today, the
Oh,
song Today from
I must admit,
the
I don't know that one. Today Forever.
EP with the shark on it.
Yeah, I don't know that.
One of the best, one of the best cover art designs, I think, and
Yeah,
one of the best EPs of all genres. You know, I think it's up there with like the Tremolo EP by MBV and Morning Rise by Slowdive. That would be a key EP, and the Pearl EP by Chapter House. I think it's right up there with all of that. And so
I've
today
heard of that.
is so today is great. It's like this drony track. Um, you know, it starts off with not too many effects going on. It's like this chimey, clean electric guitar that's just doing these kind of beautiful chords. I think it's just staying on this E chord. It's like din 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 din, just a nice like pulsating kind of rhythm to it, and it gets you into this lulling mood. And basically, they just stay on this one chord, albeit there's like a couple of bass note changes where they go like A, yeah, A, because yeah, that's it. Because I can play this on guitar myself. You take the first finger off, so it's like an open droning A, and then they go up to B on the top string. So it's just one chord apart from these two little roots changes with one finger. Like So they're doing like inversions on one chord. But the whole idea is that they are building it up as the song goes on. It's quite a long one. I think it's 6.5 minutes, and it kicks in like the drums come in a bit later. So everything, it starts off simple and then everything builds up where elements are coming in at certain points. So Loz starts drumming away like halfway through it, and then you've got Steve Quort's bass turns into like this it's more of like an orchestral kind of, you know, cello or violin sound. I think you can achieve it by using an ebow on your guitar, you know, the thing you have in your right hand instead of a pick.
Yeah,
and it's like
vaguely familiar with
it
that.
works with the like electromagnet kind of things, and like it creates the vibrations by just hovering it over the strings like a magnet. So it's either that or I think he used feedback. When I saw Ride play it live, he stood by the amplifier with his back to us, and he made the feedback from the bass amp just drone out. So if you listen to the track, it's very like post rock kind of strings going on, and that's the backdrop to this lulling clean electric guitar, which doesn't change much. And then near the end, you get like reverse reverb kind of coming in with there's definitely more like experimental reverb that comes in near the end, and it's like panning like that, left to right in the ears, and it's just a real great production. Because I think Alan Moulder produced their early stuff, like first two albums. So the same guy who helped get Loveless over the line, and he produced Curve and Swerve Driver. So he was a prolific guy for Creation Records at the time, like doing all of those records. I think the Jesus and Mary chain as well. I think he was working with them. And then he did heavier stuff with like Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails. So he was like really like sought after guy in the 90s. Oh, and Siamese Dream as well by the Smashing Pumpkins. So this Alan Moulder guy was really essential to getting these great sounds.
Yeah, I didn't know he was involved with some of those bands like Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails. That's interesting.
Yeah, I was watching an interview with the guy. What's that guy called again? Oh, Andrew Schweppes or something. Andrew Sheps. There's Andrew Sheps meets awesome people. It's like a series where he's meeting all of these engineers and producers. And I watched the whole Moulder one, which goes on for at least an hour. But yeah, today. So I can't believe you haven't heard it. That's essential. It really is. It might even be their shoegaziest track.
Okay.
So it's definitely worth checking out.
Noted. Cool. All right. My number 4 is it's going to seem like I'm just going for stuff off the latest album because my first two, my 5 and 4, are both from This Is Not a Safe Place. And it's Future Love. It's the first single from that album. I just really, really enjoy that track. I mean, it reminds me a bit, you know, the band Wild Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've been a fan of them for quite a while. And it's just when I listened to this album, it did remind me of this kind of post-punky kind of jangle pop style to that track with a lot of it. And there's a bit in the song, I think it's like the kind of bridge of the song, where there's a really nice moment where it hits you a bit more with, I think, the reverb, and he sings the sort of, you know, future love bit, and then there's a little pause.
Yeah, I know.
So I think that's so clever, the way you have that little interval between in that moment. I don't know, it just feels like a really nice touch to the song, because you know, intervals are underrated, I think, sometimes. You know, they really create something. Yeah, that's my number 4, Future Love. It's very catchy as well. It's kind of, it's predicted. It's probably, it is right, sort of one of those songs that's up my street, because I love a lot of dream pop sounding stuff. So, and jangle pop. So, I guess that's the thing. But That's probably the last of my. I don't want to give too much away, but that's the last of This Is Not a Safe Place for the next three.
Yeah, that's another awesome pick. And I remember it was the first single, but I was like really anticipating it, and that was the first single that came on YouTube, and it came up on my phone like, oh, Ryan's got a new single out.
Yeah,
It was a really great moment, you know, just listening to it for the first time, and I was thinking, yeah, there's a lot of familiarity with that sound. You know, it's going back to their roots still, but there's something new about it as well. Especially when they came out with that repetition song, which I think is the track after on the album, and then
yeah, very different.
they had more like synth and drum machine based stuff. It was a bit more like New Order, Depeche Mode influence on it. So they've
Yeah,
got some
definitely.
80s, so that 80s
There's a lot
kind
of
of
that influence on there, isn't
dark
there?
wave stuff is on there as well. Because I think, you know, they're big 4AD fans as well. I think Steve Quartz and that he was going on about the bassist was really into the 4AD stuff, like the Cocteaus. This Mortal Coil, of course, this Mortal Coil fits as the song FYT. That's the song that Ride come onto when they play live. It's their song before they launch into the first song. So it's great how they appreciate 4AD, because 4AD and Creation are my two favorite labels. Yeah, of course you can see I've got the Creation Records logo there, signed by Alan McGee himself. When I met him do like a Q&A in Exeter.
Yeah,
He did like an interview about his life, a bio kind of thing. I
really
met him there. Yeah, he often
cool.
does these tours around the country, and I was lucky enough to meet him.
Fantastic.
I
That's
was wearing
great.
my Slowdive t-shirt on at the time, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's nice, dude." Like with his Scottish accent.
Yeah,
I was a bit surprised because obviously, you know, Slowdive, he kind of had a bit of a bad experience at the end. I think he like kicked them off, didn't he? Because that Pygmalion came out right at the height of Britpop, so they were fully concentrated on the Oasis thing. So Slowdive got shelved really because of that. But it was good how sort of Alan McGee still has a place in his heart for the shoegazy bands.
good to know.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go with my number 3 then.
Oh yeah, 3. Yeah.
And if you haven't heard the Shark album, the Jaws the Jaws album,
Another
as
one
I
off
like to
that
call
one.
it, have you not heard any song on it? Okay,
I've not heard
well,
it, a single song from
you're
that.
in for a real treat
Anything.
then. You need
Yeah, I
to
know.
fire
Got an
up
undiscovered
YouTube as
gem
soon as this
waiting
ends
for
and
me.
do some
I
research.
will. I will.
I'm telling you. Sound like a teacher or something, don't I? You must do your homework.
No, well, the thing is,
Gonna be in
I,
shoegaze detention.
yeah, she goes detention.
So anyway, this song is Unfamiliar. Ironically, it's called Unfamiliar.
Bit of irony.
And
Yeah.
the first track of the EP.
Okay.
And yeah, yet again, this is an example of Ride at their shoegaze finest. And you know, this EP is probably like gains the most respect from like the real purist crowd, like the My Bloody Valentine crowd, because definitely this is their dreamiest product, I think, this EP. Just yeah, I think they were probably part of the same sessions as Nowhere, because it has the same vibe and it's got the same level of effects usage. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if these were like B sides that were from those Nowhere sessions, because it only came out like a few months after. But anyway, Unfamiliar it starts off really with this like real long delay trail, and it's like there's like ambient pads going on, and I think they're using this. They're probably using the Roland GP16, because I looked up on like guitarrig.com and all this, a Quickboard or whatever it's called, and Andy Bell was talking about it in an interview, that this was essential to early Ride sound. So like you had like MBV had like the Elysius MIDI verb, and Slowdive were famous for the FX500 by Yamaha, and I think Ride were famous for the Roland rack effect units. So there we go. I bought that because of Ride.
Alrighty,
And
question for me.
so yeah, back to the yeah, a bit of a gear nerd, aren't I? A real gearhead. But anyway, so there's some familiar tracks. So it starts off like really like you don't know what it's going to launch into. You know, it's really kind of ambiguous. The beginning, it's this real long delay trail with reverb, and you're probably using the expression pedal and stuff to create this kind of swirliness to it. And then you got Steve Quote's like thudding bass kicks in at boom 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 boom. It's a really great driving bass, you know. There's like is it eight notes or something they call it when it's like boom 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 boom. You know, I think it's called like eighth notes. But anyway, so Loz is pounding drums coming in at the same time. So the rhythm section kicks in whilst all of this ambient stuff is going on with the guitars. And then suddenly it kicks in with a tremolo, like from the song Polar Bear. It's like the same tremolo effect there where it's floating, and they're probably using the wah pedal with a phaser to get it gliding. And so it's like that. The tremolo pan, the PN2 pedal by Boss. I think that one was really well utilized back in the day, and it was like a new product for the early 90s.
Yeah, they do use
And
those
it's
effects
actually
a
on
lot.
my board as well.
The wah and the phaser effects they use really well, I think, in a lot of their songs.
Yeah, they use it with the wah pedal, you know,
Mm.
like to really to create this massive explosion of sound. And yeah, in this track, so the tremolo is really going at a fast rate, and when the vocals come in, it's that beautiful harmony between Mark and Andy, which is their signature sound. And it's like, you're wishing for a time that you don't know. And it's really great. And then it goes into a pre-chorus section, and their vocals kind of go up a pitch together, and you know, and it's the effects are still going on, and there's a delay. They're like doing the Future Love kind of lead style, like Johnny Marr kind of
Mm.
that Johnny Marr kind of arpeggiated kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's like lots of delay on it, and
Oh, nice.
then by the end of the song, it gets even more like dramatic, so that the tremolo and stuff is like rising up and down, and you know, it's like the delay comes back in, that trail comes in, so they bookend the song. So it starts with that ambient pad kind of stuff and then ends with it.
Finishes us with it. Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, you really need to check it out. Really, it's
Definitely.
essential.
Yeah. Okay. My number 3 is from their classic Nowhere. I've gone with Paralyzed, which I think is the
Yeah,
seventh
great.
track.
Yeah, that crossed my mind actually.
This is actually a choice which has switched a bit. I've changed my mind 3 or 4 times actually in the last couple of days with my top 5.
It's going to
This
be
is
in
one
my
of the
honorable
tracks.
mentions, that one. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that
really
it
like it.
showcases Loz's drumming ability because he's got his own
It
solo
does.
near the end.
It
And I
really
like that
does.
the piano that comes in, and then there's a sample, isn't there, which I think comes from a Smith song, and it's off the 1990 poll tax riots, I think.
Didn't know that either. Yeah, but it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's it's a little it's a lot different from the other songs on that album. I feel like it's definitely got a different
Hmm.
kind of a approach to the song.
I feel you there. Yeah, I think that it's more traditional kind of songwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of like a normal indie song. I tell you what it reminds me of though. It's Made of Stone by the Stone Roses. Like
Oh
but
yeah.
when the chorus kicks in, it reminds me of sometimes I fantasize. Like that bit.
Yeah,
There's something about it where the Stone Roses influence is there.
it's true. Yeah, it's all that era. It sort of has that specific Brit pop. Well, yeah, a little bit of Brit pop coming in. Yeah, Paralyzed is my number 3.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, so I'm on to my number 2 already then. And this is going to be from Nowhere. Actually, it was on the Fall EP as well. And this is Dreams Burn Down.
Yeah, yeah.
which is the
Great
first
song.
track on the Fall EP, and it's track 5 on Nowhere. And yeah, I think this was the one I remember listening to Nowhere for the first time, and yeah, of course, Seagull really rocked my backside off. But when it got to Dream Is Burned Down, I thought, yes, this is like the lull song. This is the real dream. And it's when, I think might be the only sort of ride song where you get that kind of MBV glide guitar going on, because you can really hear this kind of morphing sound in the verses. It's not traditional strumming, or it's not picking. It's got this real glide to it. You can tell they're using the tremolo arm and stuff too. And that was reinforced when I saw them live, because I could see Mark Gardner was doing the whole tremolo arm business. And yeah, I'm not sure if it is reverse reverb. It might be, or it might be just like forward reverb, but maybe more dramatic. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, just really amazing song. I like the dynamic shift where you got the chokes me every time, and then on the time it just the song just launches, doesn't it? Wah, 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 wah. And it's staying on this D chord. It's just basically a D chord. That's another thing to say about Ride. It's amazing how they just kind of did everything in E standard tuning. Whereas their contemporaries, that MBV, would like just use the strangest tunings in the world, and Kevin Shields would just, he would do these like F sharp and G sharp, all this kind of stuff. But Ride just kept things really simple, and it's just mostly open chords. Because, I've obviously learnt some of the songs on Nowhere and Going Blank Again, and they're just using it's just like the D chord and F sharp, G, A, E, and that's the verse. And then it goes A and then G, and then when it gets to the real noisy part, they're just hanging on the D for a couple of bars. So it's interesting, how they just kind of go more for the sonics rather than but it just shows you that you don't really need to play about with tunings really to get a massive sound. And I like what else can I say about it? I like Andy Bell's lead playing. It reminds me of the Stone Roses' "I Want to Be Adored." When John Squire's doing that.
Yeah,
Like doing
it's
that,
a
and I
beautiful
get that
bit
with
of
Andy
picking.
Bell, because if you read the interviews, they would say that Stone Roses that was Andy's favorite bands, like when he started Ride in 1989, that they were just watching the Stone Roses and MBV quite equally, I think.
Yeah,
And you can really tell that they're
you can
going
hear
for
a bit of
that.
that.
The Britpop shoegaze hybrid kind of thing is what people say.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how they had that period, didn't they, where they, with Carnival of Light and Tarantula, where they sort of, their sound was very, there wasn't much shoegaze in those albums really, to my mind. It was just sort of more straight up, bit more sort of just more standard indie rock sort of sounding stuff, I guess, rather than,
Yeah, and when Tarantula came out, they had already broken up by that point, and the tensions were there between Andy and Mark, because they were both prolific songwriters and could both play guitar pretty well. So you can see how they were fighting to be the front guy. And by Tarantula, I mean Oasis had took over Britain, and you can really hear they're trying to put on the Oasisisms, there's a lot of get Gallagherisms in the kind of lyrics and the way that Mark's trying to sing. He's trying to sing with more attitude, and it just doesn't really work with them, with their soft voices, because they don't really
they
have any
kind
sort of rasp in their
I
voices and
think,
stuff. So
I mean,
it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, bit pop taking over a bit again, I guess.
Okay, so I guess it's your number 2 now, is it?
It's my number 2. It's my number 2. We did Paralyze, didn't I? So yeah, my number 2 is Call Your Boots from Going Bang Again.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
love that song.
There's the album
It
cover.
starts with, yeah, so it starts with that spoken word bit, doesn't it? I really like that. Even a stop clock gives the right time twice a day, or something like that. Yeah, and then it goes into the. I love the vocal melodies in it. You know, it kind of you know, dun, 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 you know, really nice stuff. It's kind of got that classic the contrast that they do really well of those mellow, thoughtful, reflective kind of vocals with the warm, lively fuzziness of their guitars, and just the two coming together really, really well. Oh, Alex, is that what was that a picture of? Yeah, I caught a glimpse of that. Oh, there we
Well,
go.
that was them at Brixton Academy '92.
So you got a load of booklet there and stuff.
Yeah, this was the 20th anniversary, the 2012 reissue, and this comes with the Brixton Academy DVD in it.
That's
So
what you were
you've got
mentioning earlier. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. So the full
You can
CD, and it's got the
just
B, it's got
yeah,
four
see the
B
some
sides.
see the set a bit there. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and it's
Oh
got
yeah.
four B sides there. Going Blank Again, Howard Hughes,
Also
Stampede, and
going blank again.
Grasshopper.
Yeah. All of
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, going blank again is yeah. I
Yeah,
was
Put Your
trying to think.
Boots is
Actually, do I
another solid
prefer
pick,
this?
and it's in my
Yeah.
honorable mentions.
As one of your honorable mentions. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I just I think is there some sort of a keyboard or organ thing going on in that song as well in the background that sort of just adds another layer of like niceness to
Could
it.
be, yeah. Hmm.
Really
Yeah, it
nice.
could well be because they definitely use a lot more organ on that album.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
And
think
it's a really
about
nice touch, sort of adding to an already great song.
yeah, that's right. And the drumming is incredible.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing to say. Los Colberts is one of the best drummers and my favorite drummer of all time, probably. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
Favorite
big
drum.
statement, but he is my favorite of all time.
Yeah. I think
There's
I
just so much
noticed that.
energy, and it's not just energy, but he is technically really good as well.
Yeah, I think one of my honorable mentions, I was going to mention some of his drumming in one of my honorable mentions. I'll leave that for later. But yeah, he's like, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not always the drummers that stand out so much in some bands, but with Ride, I find that
Yeah, they're
he's
really
definitely
upfront. You can tell
adds
in the
an
production
upfront.
style as well that
Mhm.
they've really pushed it up front, and it really drives the band. It drives the rest
Yeah,
of the band, just like Keith Moon drove the Who.
yeah,
It's really given some kind of momentum to the other musicians, and they kind of play harder. Like if you watch them live, especially in the early days from YouTube footage, you can see that the rest of the band kind of they play even harder when Loz is really going full tilt.
yeah.
Cool. All right then. So I guess
Right,
we're down to the number
yeah.
one.
Numero uno.
We finally got down to the number one, and any guesses to what this is?
I was gonna maybe Vapor Trail, but I don't know if but not Vapor Trail, right? Is it Vapor Trail?
No,
Oh, Vapor
no.
Trail. Seagull?
Although it is amazing, but not even Vapor Trail can make my top five. That's how tough it is.
Yeah,
No, no Seagull.
Seagull.
Although
Um,
Seagull, yeah, I mean that's another one that really should be there in the top
Leave them all
five.
behind.
Bingo.
I got
Yes.
it. Oh wow.
Yes, you're right. Leave them all behind. The first Ride song I ever heard from my stepdad's iPod. It was
Oh,
the
yeah.
only shoegaze song he had on my stepdad's iPod. And
I
that was
still
the one,
have
it got me
an
onto
iPod.
the whole genre.
There we go. There's my iPod.
Oh,
Still
there
have
we
one.
go. A blast from the 2000s.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
going. Sort of.
Wow. Yeah, I think a couple of mine are broke.
Yeah, I did actually.
They were a bit unreliable.
Yeah, they're not the most reliable either. Actually, good pocket-sized things, but I guess most people listen through their phones on devices these days. But yeah.
Yeah, which isn't the best thing really, because it's not great for audio quality.
Yeah,
But I think lots of people listen to Spotify, don't they?
yeah, it's mostly
Through
Spotify.
Siri systems.
Mm.
Anyway, so yeah,
But
leave them all behind. Yeah, I think it's it's incredible, that track. It's just it's a thrill ride, and
yeah,
it
it's
and it lives
great,
up.
great song.
It's why they're called Ride, because it literally takes you on a ride. Just it's the Hammond organ that's spliced up. It's like a tremolo on the Hammond organ. That's what it is. Lots of people think it's a synthesizer, but it's not. Because I remember listening to, when Tim Burgess did that listening party on Radio 6 or Twitter. It was on Twitter. He did a listening party during lockdown, and he invited musicians to do a walkthrough of each album, and they had like Andy and Loz. I don't think Mark was there, but yeah, Andy and Loz did the talking about each track, and that's how I found out about that. But yeah, when that fires up, especially live, it's like something big's coming. It gets you in that mood, when you're psyched up and you think, yes, here we go. You get the roar of the crowd when it happens live. Like everyone's like, "Hey!" And it's going to launch into something big. And like even before I knew the song, I thought, here we go. This has got some sort of classic rock kind of mega thing about it. And obviously it's based on the Who, isn't it? With "Won't Get Fooled Again" and Baba O'Reilly. Especially "Won't Get Fooled Again." It's very similar to that. Um, it's got some grandiose about it. Grandiose, is that the word? Grandeur,
How you open an
grandeur about
album,
it.
isn't it? It's how you open an
Yeah, and then
album.
when Loz's drums kick in and you get the
Mm.
bass and do, one
Yeah,
at a time. Very similar to what I said about Unfamiliar as well. Like, and today, when the elements come in one after another, and I think that really helps to build tension. And you think, well, where's this going? That bit of mystery that just keeps you listening and listening, and it just keeps you listening, and you don't know what's coming next. And then great 4 chord progression, based around the B chord, and yeah, just amazing effects. Like how Alan Moulder, basically how he got that was incredible. It comes from an Eventide reverb unit, apparently. I think they played the guitars dry into like a mixing console, and then Alan Moulder, he like sent this auxiliary send with this Eventide unit, and basically it was like a post-production kind of thing. So they played the guitars dry, and then they added the reverb on after. Apparently they did it that way.
wow. Okay, that sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah, Eventide H3000 it's called.
It's inventive, very inventive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this album, it was really inventive. Like going
Mhm.
blank again, like look at Time Machine, for example. It's like 3 songs in one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You have that weird introduction, and then like the song starts,
yeah,
and
well,
yeah,
they're intended to
that's
be
all.
3 entirely different songs, and they just melded them together because apparently
Yeah,
they wanted like a Beatles White Album kind of flow to it, where it's
that
all
would
these
make
different
sense with that song.
experimentations.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
an
yeah,
old
anyway, so
nice.
leave them all behind. It's like it's a weird song, because it's like it's not like verse, pre-chorus, chorus. It's kind of just this verse, a flow of verses that kind of don't differentiate from each other, and then you've got certain segments in between the verses where it does change a bit. Like for example, it stops completely, and then you're left with this pure like guitar progression just before it launches into the final verse, and then you've got the wah solo, and then you've got the freak out, which is the ultimate high moment, where it's just like, whoa, just takes your head off, it's like they just throw the kitchen sink at it in the last minute or two of the song. It's like they're throwing the kitchen sink at it. It's like, well, come on then, if you want to hear us at our shoegaze finest, then here it is. We're throwing all the effects we've got in the studio at this.
Yeah,
And it's like, it's just a big fu kind of to like the journalists who were like writing them off at the time, or like you know, saying, you know, we're ourselves. We don't be affiliated with any scene. It's them just like saying, you know, we're leaving you all behind, literally, and it's like it represents like a rocket taking off. That's what it sounds like, like rocket engines, you know.
Yeah,
And I can
strong
imagine,
statement. Yeah, strong statement, I think,
yeah, and
in a good way.
I can imagine it going well with like a rocket taking off kind of scene. And that's what they're trying to replicate with that sound, like the sound of engines at full thrust. And yeah, of course, Loz Colbert again is all over this track with his drumming, just doing drum fills like every bar, you know. It's just crazy.
The beast. He's a beast. Cool.
So yeah, I'll just leave it at that, and it's time for your number one.
Yeah, it's time for my number one. And my number one is From Nowhere. But it's not Vapor Trail. It's not Vapor Trail. It's
Yeah.
In a Different Place, the third track.
Yeah.
Really, really loved this song. It was
Yeah, I
one of the
agree.
first ride songs I think I got into because, well, Nowhere was the first album I really checked out. And this was one of the first songs that really hit me. And it's that chorus, you know, we're just smiling. It's just really lovely. And he's kind of, it starts with that slow building melody, doesn't it? That I don't know chords as well as you, but I think it's
Yeah, very Cocteau Twins-esque. I get
a
a
little bit,
vibe.
yeah,
There's a bit
yeah,
of a Cocteau vibe from that.
yeah. So I really love that song, and I think is it when he sings because when he sings place right towards the end of the song, I think it's just a brilliant moment in the track. You know, when he just sort of really emphasizes place a bit more.
Yeah, yeah, when he
Um,
really holds on to that
when he
note.
holds on to it, exactly.
And
Yeah,
then the guitar solo takes over.
yeah, yeah. And it sort of does that towards the end. It's a bit of a crescendo in sort of the
Yeah,
different
yeah.
harmonies and stuff at the end, isn't there? And it's a really nice track. Yeah. So that was the one song that has always been my number one, I think, and I knew was going to be my number one in my top five. The others were a bit more of a movable beast.
Yeah, and again, I was thinking, funnily enough, I was thinking about including that one because I was thinking about that track today, and I actually think it's their most emotional song.
Yeah.
Probably before In Your Room, because I think that's very emotional and that's got a similar vibe to it. But I think, yeah, out of the early stuff, that's the most emotional song. You know, whereas their other songs are more kind of energetic and about sort of, you know, a very optimistic band on the whole, I would say. You know, most of it's like kind of, you know, uplifting, and you know they've got that kind of Britpop kind of vibe where it's about, you know, the lads down the pub kind of thing, and it's you know, it's a bit more sort of laddish, I guess, aren't they, than like the other shoegazy bands. But like anyway, what I'm trying to say
True.
is
It's true.
that's the one that really has an emotional sentiment to it, and you know everything, the vocals and the guitar is resembling that. And yeah, like you said, the crescendo of the guitars, it's just, it hits those notes that are really emotional, and
Mhm.
you know it's like real, it goes higher and higher up the fretboard, and you know it's just those notes that kind of pull on the heartstrings, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not quite sure what it's about, because I mean, to me, like, you know, some people think it's really like sad, and it's about like losing a family member, and it's about them being in heaven and we're still on earth kind of thing. But then I perceive it as being a love song where, you know, you're a couple and you're in a different place to, you know, when you're in this, in the height of romance, and you're in your own bubble there away from everybody else, and you know you're kissing the sweetest girl in your life, and we're in a different place in that context, you know, like nothing else matters right now. I'm in that romantic moment, like the first kiss at a ball or something.
Yeah.
And I get that, I get that interpretation of it, rather than the morbid kind of someone in heaven kind of sentiment. But you know,
Yeah.
it works both ways, doesn't it? I mean, that's the beauty of music, really. You can interpret the
Yeah.
lyrics in different
Interpretation.
ways.
Yeah. Open to interpretation for sure. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well, do you want to do your honorables, honorable
yeah, yeah.
mentions?
So yeah, this might surprise you because it's not part of the first two albums or anything. Um, I
We
went
got,
for Moonlight Medicine, which is the first track from Carnival of Light.
oh yeah, yeah,
Moonlight
no,
Medicine,
yeah,
and
that's quite good actually. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that album, but yeah, it's quite a good opening track.
yeah, I mean, you basically summed it up already. How I feel about it, about everything it's dry and there's no noisy aspect to it, but there is on a summer's day, like with like a nice cold beer and the sun's out, it's actually a nice, fine album to listen to. It's a very summery vibe I get from it.
It does have a brighter
60s
vibe.
summer of
Yeah,
love kind of feel to it.
yeah,
I think that's what they were going for. They're going for that summer of love, 60s psychedelica, 60s psychedelia feel. And I really like this track because it features John Lord. I don't know if you know this, John Lord from Deep Purple, the organ player, who's regarded as one of the best organ players.
yeah. No,
He
I didn't know
features
that.
on he features on this track, and he plays the solo, and
Really,
yeah, and I really like the
that's
he
cool.
does really nice, like he uses it to like underline the guitar work as well. Like
Yeah,
the notes kick in, those organ notes kick
mm,
in at the right times, and
yeah.
it kind
I
of
do
when
quite like that song.
just before the song kind of falls flat,
Mm,
it kind of revives the song with those organ bits, and it keeps the interest going. And yeah, John Lord, yeah, look it up. And it was produced by John Leckie in Cornwall, actually, in the Sawmill Studios in Cornwall. So quite close to where I live. Unfortunately, those Sawmill Studios, I think they've recently closed down and they're being converted into a hotel or something, which is a bit unfortunate. It's typical, isn't it? It's the way of the world at the moment. But yeah,
the
the
hotel should have been next door, so it
money,
gets
yeah.
tourist attraction to the studio
Yeah, I guess just
for any ride
government and
fans.
councils, they see any
Yeah,
building as a opportunity, don't they?
yeah.
But it's a shame, because it's a bit of history there, because the Stone Roses
Mm,
recorded there, and the Verve's first album was recorded there, amongst
yeah.
others. And yeah, I like this track because it's got this. It starts off with that sitar moment and 60s sitar moment, and then this bass is like boom, 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 boom. It's got this real like pulsating guitar chord going on, and it really like it's that unpredictability again. Rides send you in a direction where you don't know what's coming next. They got that suspense about them, and it's a
Yeah,
really nice track. And the vocals are like gliding, aren't they? Like da na na da da na na na. Boom, 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 boom. It goes like that, doesn't it? And it's quite trippy as well. It's still got those effects and stuff, like some phaser work and stuff. So yeah, it's still cool, I think, for that period.
cool. Yeah.
And should I carry on, or are we taking in turns with the
We're
honourable
taking it in
mentions?
turns. Well, you carry on with yours actually.
Okay, yeah.
Go
So
through
yeah, I'll
your
try and get through this a
picks.
bit quicker because it's only honourable mentions, not the it's not the real deal, is it? So I've got Walk on Water, which is from the Tarantula album, and I think it's really nice with it seems like it's 12-string Rickenbackers in there doing this nice chimey birds kind of riff. You might not know the song, but it's one of those songs that stand out in a field full of duds, really, on Tarantula.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't give. I've only heard that album once or twice, in all honesty.
I
So
mean,
that
I was
was
thinking about even Black Knight Crash as being an honourable mention because I think that one, the first track, is quite good. It's more of a punky vibe to it. And so I've got Callie as well from Weather Diaries.
oh, I love that song. Yeah,
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 I think
I love
yeah,
that song.
another summer is on the way, Callie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really like that.
it's a good
So
mix, isn't it? Because they mix they
optimistic.
have that nice shoegazy element and soundscape as well going along
Yeah, and
with
they
the
got
rhythm.
that crescendo where it's
Yeah,
just the guitars are like going through
it's a lovely
tremolos.
bit.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I really love the guitar work on that. Very, very happy shoegaze. And then Jump Jets from This Is Not a Safe Place, which was the big single from it. It got a lot of Radio 6 airplay, that one did.
That song makes me think a bit of the Verve song, or it sounds a little like what the Verve might put out. I don't know. I just got that vibe from that song.
Yeah, well, that's cool because I like the Verve as well. So yeah, that's cool then if it reminds you of them. Yeah, so that's a great track, isn't it? Jump Jet. This is life on the outside. Yeah. And it was really it spoke to me at that time because it was like during the coronavirus, wasn't it? And it was like, this is not a safe place. And so it was kind of resembling the situation. You know, this is not a safe place when we had to keep the 2 meter distance. And
yeah.
And then there was, This Is Life on the Outside was like the moment where we came back. When we came back after, I had that feeling of, we're on the outside. We're actually outside. We're not in our houses anymore. So that I listened to this album again quite heavily, like when we were let out again
in 2020.
When the restrictions died down, it was like this album's. I understood it then. It spoke to me with the situation going on.
It's like they were foretelling the future a bit with it. This is not a safe place.
Yeah.
Because it came out before.
I made a meme about it saying like,
really
"Our ride prophets are they future tellers or something." So next one, I got a couple more. So Paralyzed is on there. Cool Your Boots and OX4.
I love Cool Your Boots. That was my number 2, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and OX4 as well. The final track and Going Blank Again.
I like that one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right. So it's your turn.
My 5, so Jump Jet is one of mine honorable mentions as well. Like I say, it reminds me a little bit. I say the Verve. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that sort of Richard Ashcroft thing going on in the song. Great chorus. Time Machine, which we talked about briefly, where you said it's like a 3 sort of songs in one thing. That now makes sense actually when you say that, because you have the introduction, and to me it's like an introduction, but it's kind of then it wheels around into something else for another couple of minutes, and it's got that strange, like, maybe you can say what the instrument is, like, I don't know if it's like a keyboard that they're sort of tapping almost all the way through it, or for the sort of last kind of 2/3 of the track.
I really like that.
Yeah, but it's not. It works well. I think it gives the track a unique feel, almost a bit like a kind of ticking, time machine or something.
I think there's a bit of krautrock in there as well. I think those
definitely a bit of krautrock,
stabby staccato.
Yes, that's whatever the word, it is. Staccato-y,
Staccato, tremolo or whatever they're using. It reminds me of like something that Can would do, or Neu, or Kraftwerk.
Yeah,
something that could fit on Autobahn quite well.
Yeah, indeed.
By the way, I was reaching for this book. So this is the Tim Burgess listening party, where there he is, the Charlatans front man, and he did over lockdown. He did these classic albums, and he invited the musicians to speak about it, and there was Going Blank Again on there. So that's how I found out a lot of the engineering tropes that happened. Lots of good insights.
Yeah, you see, like, it's great. You're such a fountain of all knowledge with all things shoegaze. You should have your own shoegaze series, Sam.
I should have my own channel.
I suppose you've got your channel. Yeah, you've got your channel actually. So that's the point.
Yeah. Well, I'm still waiting to meet Kevin Shields. I mean, that would be the ultimate interview, wouldn't it? I think I would get I might get a few million views then, because I haven't had anything really that gets past 100. I'm very lucky if I get over 100 views, even though I've got more subscribers than you, which I find kind of weird, because I think you get a lot more views, per video, but I got more subscribers. But
it varies. It depends if I go outside of album reviews, my views usually aren't quite as much, because I like to do other things to keep myself kind of interested in the whole experience of doing the YouTube thing. But yeah, I'd sometimes broaden out, and I find that's when, naturally, because it doesn't go with your usual YouTube probably algorithm, whatever it is that you fit into. I don't really understand fully how it all works, but yeah, I know if I do a certain album, particularly if I do a prog rock or prog metal album review, then the numbers are usually quite high, and so I'm connecting to that community somehow, or that genre, especially
Hmm.
prog. Anything prog related, if I post about shoegaze, it does okay as well, I think. But anyway, on a total tangent. Yeah, so going back to my honorable mentions, I've got a couple from Weather Diaries. I haven't actually got Kelly, and I was almost going to pick that, but one of the tracks I really love on this album is actually a 2 minute instrumental track called Integration Tape.
Ah, yes.
And now it's nothing, it's not really, it's just an instrumental, it's just like an ambient sort of track, isn't it? Sort of purely sort
Yeah.
of beautiful.
Well, I really like it because
Oh,
it works. It works as a good album interlude.
exactly. It's one of the best interludes I think I've heard as well. Like it's just so, and it doesn't, it's just 2 minutes. It's not long, so maybe that makes it a bit of an unusual pick for me. But you can just forget everything in that 2 minutes because it's such a
Hmm.
hypnotic, trancey
Yeah,
kind of
it reminds me of
moment.
animals, nature,
Yeah.
because it sounds like an elephant going like
Mm,
wow, and then there's
yeah.
like bird squawky noises as well, like
Yeah.
that wow. There's some like wow kind of noise. It's like a bird squawk.
Yeah. There's
I
something like
don't know
they're
if you know what
definitely
I mean. It's
layering
like
things
something that goes
in.
wow.
They're layering things in really well. Yeah, really nice stuff. Um Lanai Point, the opener from Weather
Yeah,
Diaries of that song. Again, it's an example of the kind of track I just enjoy. It's kind of a little bit dream pop. They're moving in that direction on this album a bit, I guess. And yeah. And my last, I think it's my fifth honorable mention, my last one, is Taste,
mm.
which was a single, right? And it was on the later version of Nowhere, if I'm right. It wasn't on the original 8 track one. I believe that came
Yeah,
out
that's right.
as
It's
an
on the
additional track.
originally just on
On
the full
full,
EP.
it was on the full EP as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just enjoy that track as well. I suppose it's not necessarily anything like super different in what you might expect from that kind of era, but it's just an enjoyable, quick, straight up kind of early
Yeah,
90s
I totally get what
sounding
you mean. The
vibe track.
drums are incredible on that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's an example of one of those where I really like the Loz drumming on that track here, which I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, incredible track.
Yeah. So I think that was it then. That's my five. I haven't missed any. No. So
Great.
yeah. All right. And
Remember to do your homework on this EP.
I will,
That's the one.
yes. Yes.
Today Forever, it's called.
I will definitely check that out today forever.
Today
Everyone
Forever.
watching, make sure you listen to Today Forever.
Yep.
Today and forever.
Yeah, that's the
Was,
quantity you have to listen to it for.
yeah.
Anyway, I like what you do with Chill Dude on the Couch as well. I think he's a really good person on this channel.
Yeah, we'll maybe get you both on a collab at some point if you fancy it.
Yeah, we could do a trio. I think
It's
that
usually
would
the
be really good.
usually the time differences. Sometimes we try and move around that, but yeah,
Yeah, because
because we're
he's
both UK
Puerto
based, I suppose it's
Rico, isn't
easy.
he?
Yeah, yeah,
Puerto Rico.
yeah, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, I found out that about that Unreal band that they're from Puerto Rico, and that was a
Yeah,
cool find because of Chill Dude on the Couch.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
very
yeah,
good.
thanks a
I,
lot.
I
Thanks a
enjoyed that
lot,
album.
Chill Dude, if you're watching.
He's probably watching. We'll see how if he gets. I don't know if I don't know if he knows much about rides, but he'll say, I'm sure, whether or not he
The
likes
Slow
ride.
Dive top 5 picks was really good. Watch that one,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the Matt Catlin one as well. Matt Catlin.
yeah. Matt Catlin and
Yeah,
Bartosz from Waterville.
yeah, I saw that one.
There's there's a bit of a shore dive thing, yeah, going on in the channel a little bit for a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, I need to get some more interviews on. It's been a bit of a
yeah. You
gap.
could get recommend Nosy Ends and Velveteen. They're
Okay,
two other shore dive artists.
okay,
Both from the UK.
Okay, well, I'll see if I check them out and see if they're interested. Yeah, all right. Yeah, well, and you're welcome, of course, to share this on your channel. I'll send you the.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank
All right,
you.
no problem. So I
Yeah, it's
guess
been a good time.
Yeah, no problem at all. I really
Sorry
enjoyed
about
this.
the delay at the start. I couldn't find the link.
No worries. No worries.
All
So
right.
just
All right. Cheers, Tom.
fashionably late. All right. Thanks very much. And don't forget to sub to Sam's channel, Shoegaze 93. It just reached 500. So congratulations on that.
Woo.
And obviously as well, if you're stopping by this channel, don't forget to drop a sub to me, help me approach 400. And hopefully we'll get there fairly soon. Yeah, yeah. All right. Thanks everybody, and until next time, until the next episode of Shoegaze Files. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.